If you are creating music in Logic and not using these 5 features, you need to level up your game. What's up, everybody? If you're new here, I'm Phil. If you are a songwriter, producer, or just someone who enjoys seeing creativity or music being created, this is absolutely the channel for you. And if you haven't already done it, you should probably just subscribe so you can see more videos like this. So in this video, I'm going to go over 5 Logic Pro features that every single producer, songwriter, every single person who uses Logic should absolutely be using. These are features that I use every single session, and they are my absolute go-to. So let's go jump into Logic. First and foremost, if you're gonna do a lot of these features, you're gonna need to make sure you have the advanced tools turned on Logic Pro. So to do that, we'll go to Preferences. You can click General, and over here you'll see Advanced. And then if you don't have Show Advanced Tools checked, make sure you check that and then just enable all. Now, even if you don't end up using everything, that's okay, but at least you'll have access to everything. So the first thing that I always start off with, almost every single project, is the tap tempo. Now I'll use this if I have an idea in my head already, but instead of me just going up and adjusting the tempo all around, what I'll do is I'll just tap the tempo. Now I have a hotkey set for my tap tempo. So for me, I hold Shift and I start clicking on the space bar as fast as I want it. And as soon as I do 4, now you'll see it adjusts in my audio files, but apparently I was tapping at 105. That gets it all set up pretty close to the tempo I have in my head, and then I can go and fine tweak. However, if you're gonna use this strategy, make sure that you go up and you change this to an even number, especially if you're gonna send this out to anybody, a mix engineer or somebody like that. They're not gonna be able to guess that you had 0.37842946 for your tempo, right? So always go back and change that to something, even if it's like 0.5 or minimum. If you're gonna send this out to somebody, you just make sure you write down the exact tempo that it's at. All right, the next thing that is huge that I use all the time is capture record. Now I have it up here. If you don't, how you can easily do that is just right click, customize control bar and display. Then you can go under here on transport and click capture recording. Now let's say I just made this song and I'm just listening to the song and I'm really just wanting to jam out. And let's just say I end up playing something I really like. And I'm just like, oh man, I really like that. Well, I'm just gonna go up and I'm gonna click this button and it's going to bring out all that MIDI I just played. I can quantize it if I want to, but here it is. Now, I'm not saying that's the main way to record. If you're ready to record your track, great. Click record and play. Now with this newest Logic update, the music doesn't even have to be playing. For instance, I could just be messing around looking for something. And then just think to myself, oh man, that sounded really good. Bam, capture record. You're welcome. Anyways, that has saved me so many times on getting that idea that I just recently played, but I didn't have a chance to press record. Okay, this is one of my favorite features. Not my favorite, but one of my favorite features. And it's something I just recently learned about. And it is the track alternatives. Now, if you're familiar with the project alternatives, if you go up here, you'll see you go to project alternatives, and you'll see I have the production, and then I also have the mix. And so I can switch in between those two separate projects. But you can also have different track alternatives. Now, to turn on your track alternatives, all you're going to do is go up to track, and then you should see show track alternatives. So you'll click that, and then you'll see these little arrows showing up next to each of your tracks. And you can create a new, you can duplicate, you can rename. Now where this is really powerful for me is I used to recreate vocal tracks. Okay, I'd be like, here's the original recording. All right, here's the edited, here's the tuned, here's the final, and I would just hide the tracks in the background. Instead, you can see here, I have all the comps here. I click that, and now I have access to all my original comps. Here's me picking out the final comp and flatten it down. TNT is trimmed and tuned, and then I finally bounce that out and I just have my final track. Now, I recommend doing it in stages like that because you may end up making a mistake you don't hear right away, and now you can easily go back and grab the originals. Has saved me so many times. I mentioned trimmed and tuned. Now, what I used to do when a vocal was recorded, I would go into the edit screen here, I would listen, and I would just trim out all the silence. No. There's a much easier way. Now, if you just press Control X, it brings up the remove silence. Now, don't let this screen overwhelm you. The threshold is just how sensitive you want it. Now, I've used this so many times, I know my voice, usually the threshold's -35 to -40, but just keep pulling it down or decreasing the threshold until you really just stop seeing it move a lot. So if I see here, I stop seeing it move a lot. And so right around actually about -43 in this case. So I'll go there. Now, it's important that you don't do it too high because it will cut off some of the sibilance or some of the end, which can make you sound really weird. But for me, you figure out the threshold. I always keep this at 0.1, and then just to be safe, a little buffer, I put in 0.25, 0.25. Just gives a little buffer on each end. Click OK, and now all that silence has been trimmed. Now, I'd recommend if you do this, you go through and you listen to the track and see if anything's cut off. Because if there is something cut off, I can still go up to the track here, drag out, and it still remembers those cuts and it will still let me add. And then when I've listened through and everything's as I want it to be, then I will go over here to the track alternative. I'll duplicate, rename it, tutorial final. Control B to bounce it back out, and bam. And now it is perfectly, all the silence is trimmed out. Now, last but certainly not least, literally the reason I switched from other DAWs to Logic was for the Logic drummer. Something I've always tried to work on is creating my own rhythms, my own type of drum patterns. But Logic has this amazing built-in drummer that just has great interface to customize and get at least a pretty particular sound that you would want. So here's my rhythm to this song. It's no hurry, I'm not worried about us. So just nice and low-key. About us. Bring in some cymbals. Complicated, don't. But let's say I couldn't even do that. So I'll click to add a new track. I'll click the drummer. Now you can pick a genre. For instance, this is probably maybe more of an alternative song, I guess you could say. Click create. So where I want my drums to come in, let's say I want it right there at the chorus. So here's the drummer right now. It's a little aggressive for me. But I can just move this guy around right here to make it less complex and softer. This type of song probably calls for something a little more gentle, right? So, but you'll see the waveform change as well between me putting where this is. That's actually not bad. I can change the kick pattern. It's not bad. But in this case, the drums that I did, I had it following kind of the guitar pattern in the background. So I can still tell it to follow a certain track. For instance, the main guitar. Let's see how well it does following the main guitar. There it is. Almost the exact type of kick beat I did. I can tell it to do more fills, more swings. And let's hear how this sounds. It's no hurry, I'm not worried about us. About us. complicated, don't care what they say. Now it even goes even further on the customizability here. So with this track selected, I'll press Y to open up my library. Now you'll see the drum kit. You can change the drum kit here. You can change the genre. There's different drummers. It's absolutely amazing. But how you can further customize this, granted you've downloaded all the Logic sounds, is just go down here to producer kits, and then I'll click that same Brooklyn kit, and now you'll see that I have a pull down here, and now I can adjust the levels of every single part of this drum kit, so I can still manipulate it. I can put different plugins on different tracks. Now this is a song I just recently came up with called About Us. I'll let you just hear the final chorus. We're already here. I'm not worried about us. About us. Complicated, don't care what they say about us. About us. Right, so if you're wondering about that song, I actually created that song making this video when I was coming up with these 5 features. And then it's just one of those accident songs. So if you want to hear it from start to finish, I'll put a link in the description. Go stop by my SoundCloud. Even better, follow me on the SoundCloud as well. But also don't forget to hit that like button, hit the subscribe, and let me know in the comment section if you want to see a breakdown of this full song. I can show you my sound selection, the production, how I came up with everything. And if that's something that really interests you, let me know. But until next time, I'm Phil. Keep creating music.